Hikaru is your average high schooler with terrible social anxiety and no idea what he wants to do with his life. He wakes up early one morning and after dragging himself out of bed, he heads to the train station and gets on the first train headed to his school, but there's something that has been bothering him for a while now. Last night, while he was riding his bike, he saw a mysterious orange light in the sky and heard a voice calling out to him, so he's trying to figure out what it could have been, but he hasn't found any information yet. As he is scrolling, he notices a pregnant woman standing in front of him, as well as two old ladies silently judging him for not giving his seat up to the pregnant woman. He feels like it'd be the right thing to do, so he gets up and is about to offer the pregnant woman his seat, but then he hears a couple of guys in the background making fun of him for being a goody two-shoes. But it turns out that he was just being paranoid and the two guys were talking about someone else. He is relieved once he realizes that they aren't talking about him, but while he was standing in place, the man next to him already got up and offered the pregnant woman his seat instead. So now, Hikaru is left awkwardly standing by himself, and he feels so embarrassed about it that he's about to get off the train, but all of a sudden, a couple of his classmates get on and spot him, so he now has to join them. Hikaru's friends begin talking about their future plans, but Hikaru hasn't actually been listening this entire time because he is still preoccupied with what happened last night. His friends ask him about it, so he explains that from what he remembers, he heard a voice late last night, but he opened his window to see what was going on and saw that the area around the Kagami building was really bright, and he wanted a better look, so he rode his bike up the hill to get a better view, but unknown to him at the time, a huge battle was taking place in the Kagami building and an orange cube was about to be stolen by a girl with robot arms attached to her hips. She tried to escape through the roof, but as soon as she got up there, she was immediately surrounded by the private police force of the building and they recognized her as a Mecha Uda user, so they immediately pulled out their weapons in an attempt to neutralize her, but those mechanical arms make her a difficult target to hit. After the police officers failed to stop her, the guards then pulled out specialized weapons and used them to freeze her in place. The boss then comes out and pulls out a mechanical creature of his own, but this one has been experimented on to make it a more efficient tool. The girl's mechanical arms are outraged by what the man did to one of their kind, but the man shows no remorse as he takes the cube back so he can use it in one of his future experiments. The girl refuses to let that happen. So with the help of the arms, Sinus and Dex, she breaks free from the trap and attacks the weapons developer. In the process of the fight, the girl manages to get the cube from the weapons developer, but because the containment tube was damaged, it ends up getting launched several hundred meters into the air. That was when Hikaru saw an explosion come from the building and he even took a video of it. But for some reason, nothing out of the ordinary was recorded. He also recalls seeing a glowing cube land somewhere near the building, but once again, none of that showed up on his recording. His friends think he must have just had a really weird dream last night, but out of curiosity, since he apparently heard a voice, they ask what kind of voice it was heard last night was, and Hikaru is embarrassed to say, but he tells them that the voice was asking for help. His friends joke that it may have been a ghost, but Hikaru knows what he heard, and coincidentally he hears that same voice again. So even though he's supposed to be attending class, he takes off running in an attempt to track the voice down. He ends up approaching the Kagami building, and he's not sure what he's meant to be looking for, but as he's about to enter a roped-off area, he is stopped by a police officer who tells him that he isn't allowed to be back here. Hikaru asks why, so the officer explains that Kagami made a generous donation to the police station in exchange for a couple of officers helping him with a little situation. But then he gets a message on his radio telling him that Mr. Kagami needs all the officers to head over to the back room, so the officer turns to head for the back, leaving the unknown kid near the restricted area. Hikaru was initially going to turn back since he is a law-abiding citizen, but as he is about to leave, he hears the voice again. So he decides to ignore the do not cross tape and goes searching for stuff in the abandoned section of the compound. He walks around for a while until he comes across an ominous glowing cube in the middle of the floor and he wonders if this is the thing that was calling out to him. He gets close to it and sure enough, the cube begins talking, which freaks him out a little, but he still reaches out to touch it, resulting in a massive flash of light. The cube flies up into the sky and lands on Hikaru's back, causing another flash of light and drawing a lot of attention. By the time Hikaru opens his eyes, he has a massive arm growing out his back, and the arm is really relieved to have finally been saved. Hikaru is hearing the voice of someone talking to him, but he can't see anyone, so he starts panicking until the arm gets his attention to calm him down. Seeing a metal arm growing out of his back does nothing to calm Hikaru down, but the arm begins to thank him because it is genuinely grateful to have been released from that cube. It tries to tell Hikaru its name, but it then realizes that it can't actually remember what its name is. Hikaru still can't handle the fact that he has an arm on his back, but then he realizes that the arm isn't actually attached to his back, it's just stuck to his jacket. Before he can think of what to do next, a drone shows up to investigate the area, and that leads Hikaru to believe that the robot arm must belong to the Kagami group, and he doesn't want to get in any trouble, so he starts taking off his jacket so he can return it, but the drone engages its buzzsaws and tries to kill him. Hikaru begins running for his life, and he thinks the drone is after him because of the mechanical arm, so when he falls over, he tries to return the arm so he doesn't get attacked anymore, but it turns out that the drone is specifically trying to kill him, so the arm has to step in and defend him. Hikaru is traumatized from the near-death experience, and he has no idea what the murder drone would be targeting him instead of the arm, but the arm tells him that they don't have any time to relax because even more drones are on their way, and the only way he is going to make it out of here alive is if they work together. Meanwhile, at the Kagami headquarters, the president has just been informed that the drones have located the missing trigger arm, but it seems to be in the possession of a random kid. One of the higher-ups asks if the boy is affiliated with the ARMS organization, but according to their background check, he really is just a random kid that happened to find it, so the higher-up orders a 2-kilometer perimeter to be formed so he can't escape, and for all available forces to be focused on capturing the trigger arm. He doesn't really care what happens to the kid though. At the same time, Hikaru and the arm have evaded detection by the drones, and while Hikaru is grateful to be safe, he still wants an explanation as to what the arm is and why he is being hunted because of it. The arm unfortunately doesn't remember anything, so it can't answer Hikaru's questions, but something it does know is that Hikaru is a kind person for saving it. Normally, the arm wouldn't be able to move at all without Arbitrium, but with Hikaru, it's got buttery smooth joints. Hikaru congratulates it on its freedom, but he's not going to be getting involved anymore and opts to leave the arm behind, along with his jacket. It should be fine since the arm can move on its own, but the arm begs him not to go and tries warning him that it isn't safe out there. The way Hikaru sees it, he is only in danger because of the arm, so distancing himself from it would be the best way to ensure his safety, and he intends to do exactly that. However, he notices that the further he gets, the quieter the arm gets, and as he turns around, he sees that the arm has almost completely lost power. After a bit of testing, he confirms that the arm really does lose power every time he gets too far away, and that means for better or worse, he's stuck with the arm. The drones eventually catch up to them, but this time the arm says he will handle it himself, so it grabs the floor and begins dragging Haruka around to get him away from the drones. While the arm is doing this, the weapons developer is watching from a nearby water tower, and he is quite disappointed that the trigger arm turned out to be so pathetic, but he still needs to retrieve it, so he will let the drones handle it. More importantly, he receives intel that he's not the only one after the trigger arm, so he's going to have to deal with that girl again. Meanwhile, Aki has just arrived in the area, but her intel provider tells her that she is heading in the wrong direction. He tells her to go south, but she doesn't know which way is south, so he rephrases it and says she should turn right instead. She needs to get to the other side of the building, but going back would take too long, so she finds a little alleyway and intends to go through there instead, although she's going to have to ask her Dex and Sinus to disengage for now so she can fit. On the other side of the wall, Hikaru is running out of steam from being chased for so long, and while the arm's running was definitely faster, it drained a lot of Hikaru's energy, so he can't keep going much longer. All of a sudden, he gets grabbed by Aki and is thrown to the floor while she deals with drones. She then turns to the two, calling the arm Alma and threatening to kill both of them if they move. Dex reminds her that her job is to protect them, not kill them, but before Dex can properly explain things to Hikaru, the weapons developer shows up and he's still holding a grudge against Aki for stealing Alma from him, so he's going to make her pay. While the two are distracted arguing with one another, Hikaru notices an alleyway behind him, so he makes a run for it. Aki notices him shimmying away, but she is too wide to go after him with her mecha Yude, so she's stuck dealing with the weapons developer on this side of the wall. On the other side, Hikaru makes it out and starts running again. He is really starting to regret making the decision to come here. The arm sees how much Hikaru is struggling, so it tells him to stop and leave him behind. Those guys that are chasing them are only after Alma, so if Hikaru leaves him behind, he should be able to escape unharmed. Even if Alma is right, Hikaru knows Alma can't move without him, so he is hesitant to abandon him. Aki has just defeated the weapons developer and she's caught up to them, so she once again threatens to hurt them if they don't comply with her demands. Alma tells her to wait and says he will listen to her demands as long as she lets Hikaru go, but Hikaru says he's not going anywhere. He may regret the decision, but he is choosing to stick by Alma's side, and since he looks like he's going to resist, Aki prepares to beat him into submission. Hikaru isn't confident in his ability to win, but Alma assures him that together they can take Aki down. He just needs to step forward and let him handle the rest. Hikaru doesn't know how this is going to end, but he decides to trust Alma and charges straight towards Aki. Aki was prepared to defend herself at first, but when Alma kept into the air and transformed, it knocked the wind straight out of her lungs, leaving her gasping for air on the ground. Hikaru and Alma take the opportunity to flee, and a few hours later, when the coast is clear, they come out of hiding and run away. Meanwhile, Aki returns to base and reports her failure to capture Alma. She couldn't have predicted that the kid would be capable of utilizing Alma's power, but even if he got away for now, there's no doubt that Kagami's group will track him down soon enough, so they have to act quickly and find him first. The next day, Hikaru ends up taking Alma to school with him since he has nowhere to keep him, but he's trying to keep a low profile so those people who are after him won't be able to find him. However, as he gets to his class, he is horrified to discover that Aki is transferring into his class and she doesn't look happy. This was the end of episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part.